Hi, welcome. This is day 5 of the first week of Confidence on Camera seminars. They're doing a quick recap before casting director Judy Lee comes in as our guest. All of these will be posted to bizstudio.ca, Facebook's Facebook page on BizStudio, or BizStudio page on Facebook, facebook.com. The quick recap of the food chain, producer in charge of the Luca.
Money.
The director's in charge of the what? Yeah, Lincoln. Lincoln. What's the director in charge of?
Script.
The story. Okay, not the script. The writer makes the script. The director's in charge of the story. They're in charge of making the story. Producer's in charge of the money. Director's in charge of the story. Casting director's in charge of the what?
The auditions.
The audition. Thank you. Perfect. And that's who we're meeting with today. The talent agent is those are the only people that the casting directors talk to directly. Talent agent's in charge of what, Hannah? Anna.
Scout.
The talent agent is in charge of the actors, right? They're a salesperson who only sells actors. And then the actors are in charge of what, Carter?
Themselves,
exactly. So in terms of having Judy in here, remember that she is one of maybe 8 or 9 casting directors who handle all of the film and TV casting in Vancouver. So this is an opportunity for you to like really get a sense of what it is like, the sort of human side of that on the inside. What are some of the things that might be useful to ask Judy once she shows up? Or what are you curious about? I'm gonna get her to start by talking about her life, but like practice with me now. What are some of the questions you want to ask so that you sound that much more awesome when you ask them to her? Yeah, Joanne. Joanne, can you hear me okay?
Cricket.
Joanne.
Cricket.
Hi, Joanne.
Cricket.
That's you. Get the hand up. I have no more. Okay.
Your job hard.
Joanne, can you hear me? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Joanne,
Yes.
can you hear me? Yes, you can. Okay, good. What was the question, Joanne?
Is your job hard?
Oh, great. Okay. And the Avia.
How do casting directors make their decisions, and what can actors do to please the casting directors to get a better chance of being chosen?
Right. So what can actors do to have a better chance of being chosen, to be seen for auditions? Great. Lincoln.
What are some bad habits you see that hurt the audition?
Great. We want to make sure that we're asking for what to do about 2 or 3 times as much as we're asking what not to do. So just everybody sort of try and keep track of that for me. Right, because she could spend all day, like we're only going to have her for half an hour. She could spend all of that time talking about all the things that she doesn't like, and it wouldn't really actually help you prepare for the audition. So just make sure that you're asking what she does like as much as you can. Luca?
It was kind of the same thing, like what are casting directors mostly looking for?
And the more specific your question is, the more likely it is that you'll get an answer. So looking for in what? Hey, Judy Lee! Woo-woo! Wow, their background's so pretty.
Hi. Sorry, that took me a little while to get into it.
No, it's all good. I was just going over with everybody the kinds of questions that they might ask once you got here, so we could take full advantage of your time.
Okay.
You've got soft focus around the corners of your camera, like you're in a 70s movie or something. I think there's something like just in front of the lens. It's a cool effect though.
It's my weird lamp, maybe. I mean, full confession, I'm sitting in bed.
Yeah, do it.
Because it's the only room where everybody will leave me alone. So
that makes perfect sense. Judy has a small daughter. How old's your daughter now?
Actually, she's 10.
10. Oh my God, not that small.
Not that small. She's almost taller than me now. So
wow.
Yeah, and I'm giant.
So just uh, but just for perspective, that means that not only does Judy understand, acting and being a casting director, but she also understands, what it is like, to try and support a small person, and so there's like extra empathy or understanding there. Judy, I quickly ran over with everybody and have sort of reviewed with them multiple times in the last few days because we've been doing the seminar all week. The producer in charge of the money, the director's in charge of the story, the casting director's in charge of the audition, the talent agent's in charge of the actors, the actors in charge of themselves. So just to give them a little bit of context, for you and talking about your job, and I talked about industry stuff in detail yesterday, but I would love to get you to start by just talking in sort of a practical sense about what your job actually looks like. And I have a couple of questions there if things don't come up, and then we can just open it up to everybody.
Okay, sure. So I don't know, like if you went over the process of how how my sort of job starts, and it starts when I get contacted by the producer, and I read the script. I generally get casting book to write a breakdown, and then that breakdown goes out to the director and producer, and they give me their notes about what they want. So I feel like that's something important for actors of every age to know, because I think it's let's say, like, sometimes I'll ask an actor in and they'll read the script and they'll say, yes, but it says this character is in their 40s and overweight, and I'm in my 30s and I'm not overweight. So, and the script is just a very general skeleton of what they're making. Really what it comes down to is, like, the director and producer take a script and then they make their own revisions in terms of what they see that story as being. So I make sure that info gets out to all the agents. And the agents then send me their ideas of people that they think I should see. So, it becomes, at that point, it's not just me, let's say, listening to the producer and director and understanding the story and what they want. Then it's also my job to, agents will come to me maybe sometimes specifically about a client and say, I think this person would be great for the role. And then it's a matter of me, figuring out if I think it fits for what they want. Sometimes even if I know that this actor maybe doesn't fit for the vision that the director and producer have, I'll feel like this person's just so interesting, let's bring them in and see what they say. And at that point, we release schedules, and we make sure there are scenes available, the sides, for actors to audition with. At that point also, agents might come to me with questions as well. Let's say I just cast a film and it takes place in New Orleans. So a lot of agents would come to me and say, does this character have to have a particular accent, right? So a lot of what I do is really communicating with the agents to make sure that their actors are prepared to the best of their ability, so that they have all the information to serve their audition. So hopefully it brings them that much closer to booking the role. Then, of course, as you all know, then we have auditions. So we hold casting sessions, and so my job at that point is to try to direct an actor to a place where I think that they'll become a candidate for the role. Now, sometimes people come in, they'll do one take and I'm like, that's great. I think that's exactly what they want. Sometimes someone will come in and they'll do 3 or 4 takes. Neither one means that, sometimes people get frustrated because they only get 1 take. Sometimes people feel a bit discouraged because they feel like they had to do so many takes and they feel worried about that. There's absolutely no science when it comes to the casting process. Every role is different. Every actor is different. Every day is different. It can even be a day where I feel like I'm not communicating clearly to actors. And I don't know if Michael told you all, but I also started off as an actor. So I do understand, excuse me, I do understand the feeling of being at the front of that room in the casting session and not quite understanding the redirection that's being given to me. And I have days where I know that I'm not communicating well to actors. So sometimes it takes me 3 scenes before I'm like, yes, that's exactly actually what I wanted. So, you know, people come in, they audition, those auditions go to directors and producers, and then they send me their callback ideas. So sometimes we book right from tape, and sometimes we have actors come in for callbacks, and then we make your final decisions from there. Is that sort of
Yeah.
the whole process? Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you. Yesterday, I talked a little bit about it, but I'm curious if I know that it's hard to put exact numbers to it, but in general terms, you know, when you are putting out a breakdown for something that is, you know, a smaller role, like an actor role, you know, less than 6 lines, you know, open ethnicity, how many submissions would you typically get? Right, like just to give us a range, a ballpark.
I mean, if it's a pretty open range of ages and we're not looking for a specific look, you know, I guess it could be like 300.
Okay, and
Yeah,
and
hundreds.
hundreds, yeah.
Hundreds, yeah.
And so is that accurate then, that the more specific the look is, the fewer submissions you will typically get?
Yeah, generally. So it's just if the age range is smaller, especially if I know that, let's say I have to pair, you know, because of the age range of the actors in this group, you know, you might be playing the daughter or the son of our lead actor. So it might be then, you know, me looking at the submissions and thinking, okay, who's a good who looks like they could be the child of so and so and so and so, and then that obviously, you know, narrows it down a bit. Yeah.
And typically, how many of those folks do you bring in for an audition?
I really don't like to bring in less than 8 actors per role.
Mhm.
And I generally will not see more than 15.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said some of that to them yesterday, but I want them to hear it from you.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's the thing is I always say to actors, you know, when you get the audition, you know, for me, I feel like that you should feel like, okay, you've already made it. It's now just a matter of, you know, figuring out whether or not you're the right fit according to what the director and producer are looking for. But if you make it into the audition room, I mean, the odds of being, you know, 12 to 15 out of like 150 to 300 people, you know, to come in, I mean, they're crazy odds. So if you're in the room, you've made it. Don't feel like you're being tested. We're just hoping you're the right fit in terms of what they're looking for. And, you know, I'll be really honest with you. It's not even always a matter of who comes in and gives the strongest performance. You know, really, anytime I'm bringing people in, I feel like everyone is at an equal talent level. That's why I'm bringing people in. It really becomes about, you know, it's just like, well, just there's something about, you know, this actor's energy. He seems really lively. He seems like very, you know, like somebody who would be really spontaneous and do crazy things. Or no, like we like, you know, this actor, we like this fit because I think this, you know, we have to feel that this character is somebody who's hard to break out of their shell. You know, so it becomes little things like that that make the final decision on who gets chosen. But it's almost never, that's what I feel like every actor has to know. If you don't book a role, it's not because you weren't as talented as another actor. You know, it very often has to do with, you know, a look, or it can be height. You know, it can be, you know, because like at this point, I mean, like I said, like my daughter's 10, she's almost as tall as me. You know, so it's like they'll say, well, you know, we need this, you know, we want an actor who's 10 and above, you know, because we think they need the maturity, but they need to look smaller because we want them to feel young. And also our lead actor is only 5'1". So it can be something like that where your audition's amazing, but you happen to be, you know, 4'11". And, you know, we need an actor that looks tiny compared to our lead actor. And it can be something like that that throws you out of the running. It's like I said, it's almost never about how talented you are and how great your performance was.
Okay. Let's open it up for questions. Can we let's do hands, either, you know, actually or electronically, you know, just to keep things orderly. Lincoln.
What are some bad habits you see that hurt the audition?
For me, I feel that one thing that I often will really like, I don't like to put actors on the spot, but this is one note that I'll give in the room is don't continually apologize for yourself. Don't don't second guess. Sometimes I'll have somebody finish an audition and they get that look on their face like, oh, like, oh, that sucked, or oh, I'm sorry. I don't care if you flub a word or two. I don't care about, if it takes you a second to remember your line, honestly, that's not what I'm looking for. So I would say be really careful to not apologize for yourself, or to be like really self-critical in an audition, because it's so important for you in the room to know, well, first of all, know that I'm really there. I root for everybody who comes in to audition. I want everyone who comes into audition to like knock it out of the park. But it's really important for you to really be your greatest supporter and strongest cheerleader of all. So just, in the room, just keep that confidence up. Know that you're there for a reason, and know that I'm totally on your side, and that the room is yours. Like, it's all about you, and trying to, I'm there to try to help you get the job.
Great, thank you. Okay, who's got a question for me? I'm getting a little bit of noise from somebody working on their keyboard, so I'm just going to mute everybody, but throw a hand up if you got a question. Evie, you got something? Great.
I have two questions actually. My first one is, how do casting directors like make their decision
About
choosing the actors that they think fit best?
Okay, that's a good question. So, especially, I think it's important because, especially, let's say for young actors, you might not have a lot of professional credits, right? So, the first thing that I'm going to, let's say, when I'm going through submissions, generally, what I'm going to do is this: the first thing I'm looking for is actors that I have auditioned before or cast before, and I know are ready, or they're ready to go to set. And I know that they have the experience. So that's probably going to be the first group of people that I know I'm going to bring in. Secondly, it's going to be about look, right? So does this person, I'll look at headshots, just, because this is a visual medium. And of course, I get it, that, there's so much talent in the city, but it really comes down sometimes to, in terms of, let's say, this kind of television show or this kind of movie, what are they looking for when I say, let's say it's, age, 10 to 15, jock, someone who's really athletic, blah, 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 that sort of thing. So it has to come down to a look that I think is believable. And then if I like somebody's look, but I'm not familiar with them, I'll look at their resume. I look at, if they have any kind of experience, right? So it can be, film or TV, like a professional set. It can be student films and short films. But I think probably for people who don't have a lot of experience, the next really important thing for me is training. So if I know that an actor is training, it gives me an idea that like they're truly committed to this, as opposed to there are some actors that do this because it's fun, and I'm not in any way saying that people don't have to be strong actors for commercials, but there are a lot of commercials where they're going based purely on look, and you may not have lines. So for me, if I see that somebody is more of a commercial actor, I'm probably going to be less interested in them than somebody who is doing film and TV training, because I think it's really important, right? That people know how to memorize lines, that people know how to take direction, that people know how to hit a mark, because someone can have a great look and they can seem like someone who has some really great natural talent. But when you get to set, it's really about all the technical stuff, right? Like making sure you're speaking clearly, making sure that you know the lines. Sometimes you'll get to set and the scene that you were working on, the week before going to set, they're like, oh, you know what? We had to change some lines. So you get a whole new scene. You know, I have to and those are the things, those are the factors that I'm going to look at initially in terms before I bring someone in for an audition.
Okay.
And did you have another question?
I did. The other question was, what is like something that actors can do to help, like, I guess kind of like please the casting directors, or just help them like catch their eye in a way?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to have a good headshot. And when I say a good headshot, I don't mean a glamorous headshot. I don't want a headshot with lots of lighting that that makes you look like a certain celebrity. Or I'm really I cannot stress this enough, because I feel that especially in this day and age of social media, I think there are certain ideas and standards of the way people think they're supposed to look, right? And what a cool look is and what a trendy look is. And that's absolutely not what I'm looking for when it comes to casting. I want people who look like real people, right? I don't want people who look like celebrities. Like, I don't want someone who looks like a Kardashian. I don't want somebody who is I mean, my daughter's always like talking about her favorite YouTubers or TikTokers, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for real people, because what we're looking to put on screen is something like true emotion. But what a headshot should look like, a headshot should look like what you actually look like when you walk in the room, okay? And capture something about your personality that I think is important to you, right? I mean, are you somebody who's like soulful? Are you a thinker? Then you might have that kind of a headshot. Are you somebody who's like really energetic and a little bit crazy, and just I like to see a bit of personality in that headshot. It helps me out a lot if I haven't met you in person before. But I think for me, it's just making sure that your resumes are also updated. So making sure that any training that you've, let's say with training with Michael, like make sure that's on your resume, because it's really important for me to see if somebody doesn't have professional experience, that they are working on their careers and they're just doing everything they can to become a more professional and strong actor. And then I think I often get asked in the room, what are your pet peeves? I don't have any pet peeves when it comes to auditions. I think one thing I feel like I always have to stress to actors of all ages is it's absolutely okay and human to make a mistake. That doesn't disqualify you from the process. That doesn't put you out of the running for a role if you flub a line or you forget something. I mean, this is film and TV. So even when you're on set, if you flub a line, what you do is you take a beat, right? So take a bit of a pause, then you start your line over again. Because in film and TV, it's all about editing. So if you make a mistake, but they can edit around it. I mean, when you watch a television show, you can see that very rarely do you have a scene that's all one take, where it's just on one actor, right? It's very often it'll be 2 or 3 actors in the scene, close up on one and then close up on another, and then a wide shot of the 3. And that's because they're shooting that scene repeatedly from different angles in different ways. Then they edit it, right? And they sort of, essentially, they cut and paste it together. So if you can remember that process, it also gives you a better idea of what I'm looking for in the room and what they're looking for on set. What that means is if you make a mistake, don't fall apart. Take that deep breath, take a deep breath, start over again, stay in character. And so, yeah, like I always say, making a mistake is absolutely not a problem. So, but the one thing I'll say I do look for in the room is, somebody who is respectful, because you have to remember that it's a job interview. And that it doesn't matter if somebody is 5 or 55. I need to send someone to set who is professional and who's not honestly, who's not going to be a jerk and who's not going to be difficult, because somebody who's difficult ends up costing the production lots of money, because instead of doing, you know, a few takes of every scene, they're going to need to do 20. And that pushes, you know, that makes the shoot day longer. That costs the producer more money. That's the kind of thing where a producer will come to me after and say, please don't ever, you know, cast this actor in one of my productions again, you know? And it, like I said, it can happen for somebody who's been doing this for decades, and is, you know, and is an adult. So it's not just about young actors, but I do expect young actors to still be professional. So come in the room, be polite, be professional, and be prepared.
Thanks so much, Judy. We've got time for maybe 2 more questions. So Lincoln, I know you've got something, but I'm just going to take questions from folks we haven't heard from yet if we can. Does anybody else want to throw a question in there? Joanne. Joanne, you're going to need to unmute yourself because you've done it on your end, okay?
Do you ever feel pressured when you when you're choosing actors?
Well, I do, because, you know, you know, like anyone, like, you know, when I'm given a job, I want to make sure that I'm excelling at it as much as I can. Sometimes you know, it can be a role where I'm just not sure about what they want. And it can also be, you know, sometimes it'll be such a specific role that I don't have a lot of choices in Vancouver. And so it's, you know, there are times, like for me, when there is a lot of pressure, and you know, frankly speaking, there are times when I'll audition and I realize, you know, I went about this all wrong, and you know, I'll have to do a completely different session just for a particular role. So you know, it's just like all of you, you know, when you have a challenge, you just you want to put your best foot forward, right?
Thanks. Okay, anybody else? Well, let's take Lincoln's question then. Lincoln, what was your question?
How hard is it to be a casting director?
Well, you know what? It depends. It depends on every job. And there are some producers that I work with that know, you know, they know exactly what they want. They know the actors in town, so they make their decisions like this. There are some producers and directors that I work with who, honestly, like, you know, they'll say, oh, we're looking for this role. We need, you know, let's say we need a detective age 25 to 30, you know, male. And then after I send them great choices, they'll be like, you know what, actually, I feel like maybe they should be older. Then I'll look at for that. And then they'll come back to me and say, you know what, I actually think the detective should be 30 to 35 and a woman. And preferably, you know, African American or maybe Latina American, you know. So it's just like, it really depends on every job. And then also, you know, besides that, with a lot of shows, I'm dealing with a network. So it could be like Lifetime or Netflix or Hallmark. And then after we make our decisions, we need to get that approved by the network. And sometimes whoever is sort of in charge of that show at the network can be, you know, I don't want to use the word picky, because I feel like we should all be picky in our lives, but I feel like they're not, you know, they're making it a bit difficult for us to get choices. So like for me, it really depends job to job, like how difficult I feel like my particular position is. But having said that, I do feel really blessed because I love working with actors, and I love storytelling. So for me, it's an amazing job to have. The thing that makes it difficult is not my job per se, it's the people that I work with. And when I say the people that I work with, I'm telling you, it's never the agents and the actors who make my job difficult. It's the directors and producers and network. But this group of people here, and the agents in Vancouver and the actors in Vancouver, like that's what makes me enjoy going into work and doing what I do.
Beautiful, thank you. Alexa, this is probably the last question we have time for.
Do you get a lot of auditions for one role?
You mean like a lot of people, like ideas submitted to me, like a lot of actors' names?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll depend. Let's say, how old are you, Alexa?
11 years old.
11. So, for me, like, let's say if I put out a breakdown, and let's say I'm thinking of like, because a lot of times it's safe in Hallmark, there'll be like a daughter or a niece and someone around your age. And if I were looking for someone in that category, I would probably get at least, I get at least 125 submitted. Let's say I was looking 9 to 11, right? Um, so it depends, but if it was, let's say, if they gave me a bigger age range, then it would probably be double that. So yeah, it depends, but I never have less usually than, I would say, even if it's a really specific, very specific role, I don't get any less than 50 submissions per role. And that's if it's really specific. Like, they'll say, I'm looking for somebody who is Asian Canadian, and they can ice skate, and they can, even with that, I won't get less than 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it also accurate, Judy, that for larger roles, you will get fewer submissions?
I think so, but I think like it also depends on it depends on the age group, because if it's a larger role and younger actors, it's not necessarily at this point. A lot of agents haven't determined, okay, is this an actor? Should they be doing 5 lines, or can they do a supporting lead?
Right.
So a lot of times I feel like it's that agents are not quite sure where to put them yet, so they'll get submitted for everything. But let's say it's like, especially in this town, if it's Hallmark and it's the lead male role, then and I'm looking, let's say, 28 to 35. Most agents in town know, because we do so much Hallmark, they know exactly what Hallmark is looking for in terms of the type. All right, it's going to be a certain look, it's going to be a certain energy, blah, blah, blah. So then I'll get probably, that's somewhere where I'll get 50 submissions as opposed to 125. Yeah.
Any last things that you want to leave people with? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, and if there was sort of one thing from the last half hour that you wanted to make sure that people really held on to, what would you say it is?
Well, I would say that, for me, the most important thing for all actors to know is that when they're auditioning and when you come into the room, that you're in a safe place to really express yourself, and to give a performance that makes you feel proud of yourself, and that's what we're there for, and to just try to kick that critic, that the critic that we all have inside our brains. You have to try to kick that out when you're doing your audition. Don't be thinking about how am I doing. Just enjoy what you're doing. I mean, you're actors, right? And that's what you live for, is to be able to perform. And when you come into my room, it's just like, I'm your audience. So enjoy having that audience and give me everything you've got.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Judy. I'm going to unmute everybody. Let's say thanks to Judy before she takes off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give her some love. Judy, we'll see you this afternoon. We'll get to workshop with some of these folks will be here, and you'll get to meet some new folks as well.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, that was day 5 of the seminars. I'm gonna wrap this up here and put this up online so that you can go back and look at it again. Like I said, it's going to be on both the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Now that Judy's gone, so we've got her takeaway. What I would love is to hear from each of you. If there's one thing that you're like, yeah, here's one thing that I heard that I really want to think about or hold on to, or that seemed useful or interesting to me. What's top of mind right now, Avia?
I'd say top of mind right now is that they're looking for like genuine, normal looking people because a lot of the time you'll see like people that look like models on TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
It helps knowing that they're not just looking for that standard.
Beautiful. And if go on IMDb and start looking at who the cast is, and you'll notice that, like, yes, the leads sometimes look like models, but a lot of the supporting roles don't. In fact, they want to balance it out, and those are a lot of the roles that cast in Vancouver. Beautiful. Luca, what stood out for you?
What stood out for me is like how she was saying for your headshots, like you need like to show your personality, like mostly, and like feelings and emotions.
Fantastic. Joanne.
Mine is like the same as Avia's.
The normal looking people.
Yeah.
Alexa?
Well, I was kind of surprised that they said that it's more about like how they look and how their personality is. But I was also surprised when they said like they get like roughly like 200 or like 150, because I thought it would be a lot more.
Oh, okay. Lincoln.
That never say sorry.
Beautiful. Carter?
Yeah, what Lincoln said. Like, don't say sorry.
Cool. And Hannah?
Just to like that the audition room is just like you're free to do whatever and like to not just be so nervous. Great.
Well, thanks for making the time today, and thanks for making the time this week to come and play with us. My intention is to keep doing tutorials for free and posting them, both hosting them by Zoom and then posting them online. Just check back on the Facebook page. I'm going to figure out this weekend what's happening for the next round of them. Basically, what days and times I'm going to be doing them next week, and I'll throw that up there. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.